and encourage women in the construction industry to further their participation and ascend to the pinnacle of their careers. Kudos to the organizers for this timely initiative. Therefore, I'm delighted to welcome you, dear esteemed participants, to today's webinar, where we embark on a journey towards creating an inclusive and empowering construction industry as we explore avenues to foster an environment where women feel valued and can truly thrive. We uncover not just opportunities for gender equality, but also pathways to enhance innovation, productivity, and sustainability. The construction industry has long been synonymous with strength, resilience, and progress. However, behind the concrete and steel, there lies a significant gender disparity, and that is true. Women, comprising just a fraction of the workforce, are often faced with systemic barriers that hinder their advancement and contribute to a lack of representation in leadership roles. But it doesn't have to be this way. Together, let's delve into strategies to dismantle these barriers and pave the way for a more inclusive and equitable future in the industry. I would just like to mention 5 points, key areas that we need to look into. 1, cultivating a culture of inclusiveness. I repeat, cultivating a culture of inclusiveness is very necessary. At the heart of any thriving industry is a culture that celebrates diversity and inclusivity. To create a construction industry where women feel valued, it's imperative to foster an environment where all individuals are respected and empowered to contribute to their unique perspective and talents. This begins with leadership commitment to diversity initiatives, implementing inclusive hiring practices, and providing comprehensive diversity training for all employees. 2, breaking down stereotypes and bias. Gender stereotypes and unconscious bias continue to permeate the construction industry, perpetuating the notion that certain roles are better suited for men. It is time to challenge these outdated beliefs and recognize that talent knows no gender, and that is true. By actively promoting female representation across all levels of workforce, showcasing diverse role models, we can inspire the next generation of women to pursue careers in the construction without fear of judgment or discrimination. 3, investing in education and training. Education is the cornerstone of empowerment. To attract and retain women in the construction industry, we must invest in education programs and vocational training that provide equal opportunity for all aspiring professionals. By offering mentorship programs, apprenticeships, and continuing education initiatives tailored to the needs of women, we can equip them with the skills and knowledge necessary to excel in traditionally male-dominated fields. Once again, I want to appreciate the organizers of this program and the Inter-Bau Foundation. We can see they are at the peak of this investing in education and training for women. 4, establishing supportive policies and programs. Creating a supportive infrastructure is essential for nurturing the professional growth and well-being of women in construction. Employers can implement family-friendly policies. I repeat, family-friendly policies, such as flexible work arrangements and parental leave, to accommodate the diverse needs of their workforce. Additionally, establishing mentorship programs, affinity groups, and networking opportunities can provide women with the support and resources they need to thrive in their careers. 5, promoting gender diversity in leadership. True progress requires a representation at the highest level of leadership. Companies must actively work to dismantle the glass ceiling by appointing more women to executive positions and board seats. By championing gender diversity in leadership, organizations not only foster a more inclusive workplace culture, but also benefit from a wider range of perspectives and ideas that drive innovation and business success. To conclude, as we conclude our exploration into creating a construction industry where women feel valued and can thrive, let us remember that achieving gender equality is not just a moral imperative, but also a strategic imperative. By embracing diversity, challenging stereotypes, and investing in the professional development of women, we unlock the full potential of our industry and pave the way for a brighter, more inclusive future for all. Together, let's build a world where every woman feels empowered to leave her mark on the skyline of progress in the construction industry. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to make this my little presentation. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so very much, sir. I, for one, would like to leave a skyline as well, and I appreciate your support. Before we move to the next speaker, I want to pick out some things that you said that resonate with me and to the purpose of us or being here today. You mentioned that investing in education and training programs, and that is so beautiful that you said that, because the theme for this year, International Women's Day, is also investing in women. And also this year, this seminar also will be launching the leadership for women in construction. And that's another way we can invest in ourselves as women, and also companies can also send us to this training to also invest in us, and that way we are promoting diversity in leadership. I also love that you said that promoting diversity in leadership is not just a moral imperative, but a strategic one. So thank you so very much, sir. God bless you, and we are happy that you're here. Moving on to the next speaker.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next speaker, we have Dr. Akiode Ola Jumoke. Dr. Jumoke. Sorry? Okay, please, if you're not speaking, mute your mic, please. If you're not. Thank you. If you're not speaking, please mute your mic. We don't need distractions at the moment. If you have any question, put the question in the chat box. Dr. Olajumoke Akiode is a director at the Center of Ethics and Sustainable Development, CESD, an independent non-profit research organization. Olajumoke is a professional policy and socio-political researcher, sustainability expert, trainer and consultant for over 15 years. Our area
Hello, everyone. I think Hannah has been disconnected. We're just going to give her a few minutes to, just a few seconds to log back on. Okay, I think we'll just go on with Dr. Akiode's presentation. Dr. Akiode, thank you and welcome. We'll read out your profile probably after you've given your presentation. So thank you and welcome.
Okay. Sorry, I was kicked out. Okay.
Can I go on or she goes on? Which one?
Hannah, are you okay to continue?
Yeah. I got kicked out by the network, but I'm back. Thank you. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Apologies. Dr. Akiode is a passionate advocate of sustainable development goals, implementation, women empowerment, good governance, and anti-corruption initiative. Olajumoke holds a Doctor of Philosophy PhD degree in Socio-Political Philosophy from the University of Lagos. She also holds a certificate in Public-Private Infrastructure Partnership, PPIP, from the University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia, as well as a Trade and Gender certificate from UNCTAD Virtual Institute. She is the convener of the Women Infrastructure Community Africa, WICA, an advocacy and professional development platform for women engaged in infrastructure sector in Nigeria and Sub-Saharan Africa. She is a member of United Nations Women's Empowerment Principle, UNWEP, UN Global Compact Nigeria Network, Eval Gender Evaluation Network, Gender-Based Policy in Development Network, that is EBPDN, Nigeria Economic Summit Group, NESG, Infrastructure Policy Commissions, as well as a member of United Nations Sustainable Development Solution Network. And most importantly, she's also our faculty in our program at the foundation. Welcome, Dr. Akiode. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. Congratulations to Inter-Bau Foundation for this International Women's Day celebration. I appreciate Chief Vincent for his presentation, for breaking the ground. And so I'm just going to go straight to what I
Please, ma, would
say.
appreciate if you can project your voice so we can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to do that. Is it better now?
Thank you.
Can you hear me better now? Okay, thank you. So the theme for this celebration is Inspire Inclusion, implementing inclusive policies and practices in the construction industry. So I'll just go straight, because the time is limited, I'll just go from that that we can employ to for inclusion. I would just like to say that gender equality is about agency, it's about autonomy, it's about access to basic rights and privileges available to all human beings. It's also about understanding that there's a difference between men and women, that there is not, it's a myth to talk about gender neutrality in terms of infrastructure. And so having gender equality and inclusion means understanding that difference and making conscious efforts, to identify the needs, the interests, the concerns, the goals and aspirations of both male and female, because gender doesn't have to do with women alone. It's about male and female, such that when we are planning, when we have policies, when we have programs, we're talking about how does this affect both men and women? How does this take care of their needs? How does this answer to their interests and their concerns? And how does this protect or promote or enhance their goals and aspirations? So it's also about empowering women and engaging men in a process whereby women and men work together as equally recognized decision makers and agents of change, from the household level to the work or marketplace up to the global level. That is what gender equality and inclusion entails. And so when we bring it to construction sector, to the built place, it simply says that it's a process, or it's about forging policies of developing policies, programs, and practices that empowers women and girls, and in the process also engaging men, because we cannot have gender equality, we cannot have inclusion without the men. A bird does not fly with one set of wings. We need both men and women to talk about gender equality, gender equity, and social inclusion. And so it's about bringing them together and ensuring that no one feels like an appendage of the other in the workplace, but that they are all decision makers in their rights and agents of change, in the construction and built environments. And so what does this mean? Or how do we achieve this? So it's about, when we talk about policies to bring this about, so policies in terms of governments, policies in terms of organizations, both public and private sectors. So it's about looking at what are the needs of both men and women in this sector, what are their interests, what are their concerns, what are their goals and aspirations, and how do we bring all of this together to achieve what we call sustainable construction, industries, built environments, and overall infrastructure delivery in Nigeria and across Africa, because that is what WICA does. So it is bringing about policies such like if in PPP in other climes, what we have as an important component of that procurement method is what we call empowerment programs. For instance, in South Africa, we have what we call Black Empowerment Program, where every PPP contract that is signed, herein lies a component that says, while you are delivering this service, whether you are constructing road, or you are building houses, while you are doing this, there are a dedicated amount in your budget to empower the youth. For South African, it's about Black empowerment. We could also adopt that in Nigeria and say, okay, for every construction that is sponsored either by the government or through PPP, that is a component that takes care of women's interests and men's interests, maybe in training them, maybe in increasing the number of artisans we have in the construction sector. Things like this. These are one of the kind of policies that one can adopt to improve inclusion in the construction sector and also enhance gender equality and equity. Then there is the gender affirmative action. This is a set of policies and practices within governments, organizations, both public and private, that seeks to benefit women and girls who have over time suffered marginalization or exclusion. And we know that in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, across the world, but especially in Nigeria, women are marginalized in the construction sector. I mean, you have less than 30% of construction workers, entrepreneurs, constructionpreneurs, all of them, that are women. And so, in fact, there is this, there's a culture, this projection of construction sector of built areas as a macho environment, and they have this macho culture. You have to be strong, you have to be a male to operate in this sector. But we all know that that is a myth. And so when we talk about gender affirmation, affirmative action in this on board, you know, it's about bridging the inequality and women's and girls' employment. It's about looking at salaries. Even when you employ them, the salaries, there must be no disparity between the salaries paid to the male and the female in the same amount of work that is done. Increasing access to education. There are so many girls that I would love to, they don't even know what to do. Like what Inter-Bau Foundation is doing, you know, getting girls involved, training them in construction artisan and in construction work. All of these are the things that can come under gender affirmative action, that it becomes a policy, not just a non-governmental organization engaging in it, but it becomes a general policy where everyone, every stakeholder in the built environment and infrastructure delivery keys into. So it's also about policies that affect hiring quotas, as well as providing grants and scholarship for training, such that, okay, right now, for instance, over 3 years now that I've been taking a class in engineering in my university, when I look at about over 300 students, I hardly can count 25 girls. How do we change that narrative? Because whether it is by design or by choice, the girls are left behind. So in this kind of places, we can talk about providing grants and scholarships for them. Okay, we want to encourage girls to come and study civil engineering. Girls are trained in this field. So then quota system as well works in this area. And other strategies I want to talk about is about training and sensitization, which Inter-Bau Foundation is doing already, training people. Then so many of us talk about gender inclusion, or we talk about representation. It has to be meaningful representation. We don't just want, or we have a construction work here, we want 20 laborers, it has to be 10-10. No. The representation must be such that the women are adding value. It's not just in the numbers, but it's in knowing that they are there for a purpose and increasing what we call gender awareness, so that their activities bridges the inequality gap and promotes gender inclusion. So that's part of the sensitization that goes on. Because when we say, look at when we have women as leaders, you know, in some organizations, we need to go and check. It's not just about putting them there, or we want senators putting them there. What are they doing exactly to enhance gender inclusion, gender equity, and equality? So that is the kind of training we're talking about, that when you find yourself in this construction area, in the built environment, either as a policymaker, as an entrepreneur, as an artisan, you must be a gender advocate, wearing a gender cap, realizing that you must, by your actions, represent women properly and ensure that the needs of women, you know, are established through you, and that these concerns too of women and interests of women are promoted through your actions, so that it will open the door for more women to come in. Then it's about challenging, another strategy is about challenging stereotypes. I've talked about the culture of macho constitution is about men, is all for men. But these days we've found that in architecture, for instance, the number of women engaged in that sector has increased greatly, because a lot that they do is not about field work. You know, there are a lot of hubs around that are helping women to compete favorably with men. So stereotypes can be broken by what women on the field are already doing and what policies we put in place to help, you know, and the kind of awareness that we create across board. Then in terms of recruitment and retention, it is one thing to recruit women, you know, in a male-dominated environment. It's another thing to retain them. So how do we recruit and retain? Number one is about having quota, saying that, okay, for every post we make it open. We encourage women to apply, and we make it also easy for them. That's also where affirmation comes in. So there's a, you know, like in Nigeria education quota now for JAMB, I think, or even common entrance, for some states, they have, I mean, if you have maybe 100 or 150, you gain admission. And for some states, you must have about 300 over to have admission. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about in terms of recruitment making way for the women to be able to come in. And when they come in, providing a gender enhancing, gender friendly environment to work in, an environment where there are needs such as, okay, that women, they come in, they need support, you give them the support that they need. If they are married, they need support to take care of their children, to be able to juggle the balls of being married mothers, nurturing women in infrastructure place, fair promotion, opportunities for growth is made available for them, training on the job, and so on. Then we'll create an inclusive environment in terms of infrastructure and facilities that we have, for them. Like, for instance, you consider their safety, you consider their conveniences, what applies to the men does not apply to the women. So take care of all of those things. Also in retaining women in the built environment, in construction sector and infrastructure sector as a whole. Then what we call integration and avoiding polarization. You don't say this work is for men, this work is for women. No, you bring everybody together, you train them together, you provide safety nets, safety facilities that make sure that they are all safe to work in those areas. Then we talk about making women and men to work seamlessly in the workplace. Avoiding polarization, equitable job distribution. You don't say women are for tea making and men are for this. Everybody just gets trained together like that. Also, we shift the culture. We encourage collaboration and respect and equal opportunities. We challenge toxic norms. There are norms that are toxic. Where we see when women come up, but there are these sexist languages that flow around in workplaces that we need to check to be able to encourage women to, to work in these places comfortably. Then there should be collaboration across sectors. Engage industries. We need to begin to work together. Nobody should work in silos. What works in this field? We need to begin to see what some people have done successfully and what others can learn from them. I think these strategies will help to enhance gender equality and equity in the construction sector and in built environment, and also in promoting inclusion in these sectors. I think I've done justice to what I have here. If you have questions, I'm available to pick your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. That was very insightful. I was able to, before now, we all know that the construction industry is male-dominated, but giving your example just made it more vivid when you stated that in a class where you have over 300 students and we have less than 29 girls. I think we can do better. And you also give a solution to such instance where we can actually give scholarship to women to study civil engineering courses. You also mentioned that we should also challenge stereotypes when it comes to recruitment and retention. You also said something that caught my attention. We having meaningful impact, not just say, okay, let just because we want it to be balanced, let's just put a woman there. No, let her value be seen, and that means a lot. But I would also want to ask, when you say challenging toxic norm, can you give more insights into that before we move to the next speaker?
Okay, thank you. So what I mean by challenging toxic norms, okay, let me give you an
Hello, Ma.
An example.
Okay.
So we we have the. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Carry on, Ma.
Okay. Okay. So it's like the language in the workplace. Mm-hmm. That is also something. The language in the workplace, if it is sexist, we need to kind of make provisions for it. Like people can report, and there's a procedure for attending to that. Then also we should look at the things that like excessive work hours, for instance. Some people pride themselves in that. Excessive work hours, yes. Oh, we come to work early, we close by 10. You know that a woman would not be able to close by 10 because she has a family to go to. And so when you reward such practices, it's skewed against the women. It's not about not putting enough work hours or even going the extra mile, but that there are some activities in the workplace that are just naturally skewed against women. For instance, you want to take decisions about the organization, you meet up at the beer parlor or the club.
Right.
You know, while the woman is rushing home to go and attend to her family. You understand? So counting all of those things, it's not about, there's nothing wrong with men doing that, but it's about using that as promotion criteria, attending such hangouts, you know, excessive work hours. This time you're supposed to close, you can wait. But when you now begin to wait till 9 p.m., you know, I'm going to face traffic, I'm going to get home, and you reward such activities. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. While we move on to the next speaker, our next speaker is Omonio Oyoma Brown. Ma, I hope I pronounced your name very well. If not, please pardon me. She's a Nigerian trained lawyer with over 15 years experience in different facets of legal practice spanning various sectors, including the financial services, oil and gas, and construction. Our expertise lies in legal advisory, contract negotiation, contract management, and commercial and corporate law. Company secretary services with a particular focus on negotiation, completing and managing major standard forms and bespoke construction and engineering contracts. Throughout her career, she has skillfully managed the complete life cycle of complex contracts with a combined value of over $12 billion from pre-award contract closeout, ensuring timely project completion, and fostering socio-economic advancement across the nation. Currently, she occupies the esteemed position of head contract management at Julius Berger Nigerian PLC, Nigeria's premier construction company, where she leads a dynamic team responsible for managing an extensive portfolio of contracts vital to the company's infrastructure projects. A strategic acumen and unwavering commitment to excellence ensures flawless project execution, significantly contributing to national socio-economic development. Beyond our corporate endeavors, Omonio is a catalyst for legal and policy innovation in the legal, construction, and dispute resolution industry. Our contribution includes co-authoring groundbreaking publication and pioneering cost-efficient dispute resolution mechanism, and our impact extends beyond scholarly pursuits as she actively engages in industry stakeholders through speaking engagements and mentorship programs. We're elated to have you here, Ma. Good afternoon, Ma.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. And thank you to Inter-Bau Foundation for having me here. It's such a huge honor for me and to be one of the speakers for the event today. I'm particularly excited because, I mean, it's an event to foster and promote gender equality in the construction sector, which, as the previous esteemed speakers have alluded to, is heavily male-dominated. Thanks to High Chief Vincent for the introductory delivery that you gave. I mean, you summed it all up. And thank you to Dr. Jumoke as well for sort of like drilling it down to certain specifics that we need to adopt. And so, I mean, as the previous speakers were giving their own delivery, I was just thinking like, okay, should I just say ditto? And then we end this, we end the webinar, because basically they've covered, I mean, almost everything that needs to be done and you know, every action, affirmative action that needs to be taken. However, I would just while they were speaking, I was taking down notes, and then in terms of my experience, I would just approach it from certain other specifics, like real life practical things, steps that we need to take. Coming from being the head of contract management in Julius Berger. So what I've done is I've decided that I will approach it from what, as a country, as a nation, what do we need to do? What are the practical steps and examples of things we can do? As an organization, what could organizations do? What could the community do as well? And then as individuals ourselves, because we also have a role to play. We don't have to wait until we are in an organization or in an association to, contribute to gender inclusivity and fostering gender balance in the construction space and the built environment generally. So from a countrywide perspective, I mean, High Chief Vincent and Dr. Jumoke have said it. Policies are very important, gender inclusive policies. From even looking at our procurement, what are our procurement laws? What does the Procurement Act say about, enabling even public enterprises to consider women-owned businesses, women-owned companies in the built environment. So if we look at what happened in the oil and gas industry in terms of pushing local content, getting companies that are Nigerian-owned to, take a big share in that space, it was from the promulgation, from the enactment of a law, the Local Content Act. That was what, fostered that environment where Nigerian-owned businesses could, take up space and get a share in that market. And by so doing, empowered Nigerians. And then even organizations, the Content Act also drilled down to the fact that organizations for certain kind of jobs must award it to Nigerian companies, Nigerian-owned companies. And I think the definition of Nigerian-owned was, when a company's shares is owned, 51% of the shares are owned by Nigerians. So, that fostered, that environment where Nigerian-owned businesses could successfully, compete. And by so doing, we had more Nigerians come into that space. The country became more empowered, and more Nigerian experts started coming up, trainings, even the financial institutions. As that law was enacted, financial institutions started to give Nigerian-owned businesses facilities, because that's also an issue, access to funding to be able to set up your business and to be able to keep the business alive. So we need that kind of, government action in the construction industry. I'm aware that there is an amendment bill to the Local Content Act to bring in other sectors of the economy. So it's not just be focusing on oil and gas alone. And the construction sector is one of them. But that bill is still in the National Assembly, and it's not yet been passed into an act. So that needs to be passed. So that's something that the country needs to do from, a legal perspective. And then policies for our agencies, our ministries, our departments, their own internal policies. They need to come up with policies that foster where, women-owned businesses can be considered in the procurement process for, infrastructure projects. And then our financial institutions, I know in the agri space, we have, intervention funds that have been set up for women-owned businesses. So there's we need to look into that, setting up such kind of intervention funds for construction businesses that are owned by women, so that more women can, float companies and, have companies that's where they can compete. So from a country perspective, that's what I would say that needs to be looked into. From an organizational perspective, the corporate policies in the companies. I know a lot of companies are going, driving towards this direction where you have gender inclusive policies in terms of recruiting women into the organization, in terms of setting up family-friendly policies where, like Dr. Jumoke said, looking at what are the working hours. I mean, that when she was giving that example, it just resonated so well with me, because we find ourselves in organizations where sometimes, staying long hours becomes the yardstick for measurement of performance. And then, even hanging out at the beer parlor, at clubs and going to parties and all of that, which a lot of women are not able to do, especially when you have families to care for, you have kids, you are the sort of like the homemaker, right? So, organizations need to be deliberate about looking into things like that. What are our individual practices of managers? What are they doing in their space to encourage such kind of, behavior where women are then, left out completely? So the policies are very important, even the recruitment policy, the roles you have vacancies. What is your policy about ensuring that you're able to get enough CVs from women, and then you make sure that you have a fair process in terms of the interview and assessments and all of that. And then also from an organizational perspective, what are your policies in terms of are women being harassed in your organization? And if such kind of, the harassment is not only physical sometimes, it could also be verbal. It could also be just snide remarks, people coming with their preconceived notions, their biases, their prejudices against women. Why should I be taking, instructions from a woman? Things like that. What does the organization have in place to ensure that when those kind of behaviors are reported, they are appropriately dealt with, they are appropriately handled? So organizational policies are very key, and it's not enough to just have it written down on paper. It has to be monitored. It has to be updated from time to time with international best practices. Do you have a culture where people can easily, report when they feel like things have been, done towards them that are not, professional, or tends to bring them down in terms of like for the female? What is the organizational policy like? What are the reporting mechanisms, and how are they handled? So things like that needs to be addressed deliberately. And then Dr. Jumoke also spoke about, scholarships. And that's something very important. So I would say it's not even enough to have it just at the university level, because at that time, it's only a few females that would have thought of, oh, I want to go into the STEM field, I want to go into engineering, or I want to study a course that will lead me into the built environment. We have to get them young. So from like the elementary schools, the schools, our schools need to have like STEM programs that will encourage children from that age to start thinking, so start thinking of becoming engineers. So it's from that grassroots stage that we need to catch them young. That's what I would say. We don't have to wait until it's when they want to get into the university. From elementary school, from the secondary school, outreach programs into those places where the female engineers we have, or architects, or professionals in the built environment, we can have programs in those schools where we, make them interested. Because if you go to like an elementary school and you say, what do you want to become? Ask like, if they are 30, maybe 25 of them will say doctor. Everybody wants to be a doctor. So we need to be active about, even in our own individual spaces at homes, talking to the children and letting them know how interesting it is to be in the built environment. And for the community programs as well, we have NGOs that are doing so well. Inter-Bau Foundation is one of them, and I'm particularly excited about the training program for getting more women into the construction skills trades. So because that is really, in fact, in the industry, that is the aspect that is mostly dominated by male. So Inter-Bau Foundation is doing well with, what it's doing so far, and I commend the foundation for that. So if we will have more, NGOs, more people reach out, especially go to communities and do that, it will be very helpful. And then on individual basis, right? Like I said, we don't have to wait for government action or organizational actions. On our own individual capacity, we can inspire. Even just a post on LinkedIn, sometimes you see how many people you inspire by doing that. So as individuals, we also have our own responsibility. Just as companies will say they have CSR, individuals, we can, assist in this area, encouraging the women within our reach, the women within our circle, and the young girls within our circle. We can inspire them to want to be part of this. And from our own individual pockets, we can contribute to foundations like Inter-Bau, who are doing a lot to bring things like this to fruition, because funding is also an issue that most people have. They're unable to, pay for trainings, to get upskilled and all of that. So that's one thing we can also do and contribute as individuals. And then I would also speak to, from my own experience as contract manager, what I do from time to time in terms of even the kind of agreements we enter into, from even agreements, from clauses that you have in like contracts and all of that, you can have gender inclusive language. I will give an example. One of the, in construction, there's usually disputes. Most times you can't avoid disputes between parties. And when you have disputes, you need to have a mechanism for where parties can resolve. And we have several types of dispute resolution mechanisms. Let's say one of it is arbitration. If you were to go into arbitration, in your construction contract where you have the clause that talks about the arbitration, what is the language? Is it one that is inclusive? Is it gender inclusive? So in drafting contracts, I always have that in my mind, that you have to have language that is inclusive, that is not just that allows you to be able to look at, the female gender. When we want to appoint arbitrators, do we look at qualified females? Do we give opportunities to females as well, so that we have a gender neutral panel? So in little things like that, in our procurement policies within our organizations as well, what sort of language are we using? So I think I think these points that I've expressed, in addition to the points already expressed by the previous esteemed speakers, I think I'll just leave it here for now, and I'm ready to take questions.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Thank you very much, Ma. I like how every speakers, their strategies, they're flowing. They are so interconnected that it feels like you had the meeting together before coming today. And you picked it from your approach is very strategic, and I appreciate that from the government, from the corporation, and also from ourselves as an individual, from our education part. You also mentioned that for you, the previous speaker, Dr. Akiode, mentioned that we have to employ and retain. And I like the fact that you picked up on that and you said to retain, you have to train and retrain. And that is what the Inter-Bau Foundation is all about. One of a kind in Nigeria, where we are training women leaders in Nigeria. And the courses have been unpicked and will be taught by women that are already in the field and are already experiencing these things, and to further guide our women. And some of the courses that will be taught in that class is leadership brands, construction project management, emotional intelligence, which is very, very key. Whether it's not emotional intelligence is not gender bias, it's not gender specific. Everyone needs to be emotional intelligent to be able to be functional in every organization. We are going to be teaching courses like financial management, digitization and digital innovation, strategic planning, conflict management, and so on. And it's a certification course. Right now, I'd like to encourage everyone to drop their questions and put it in the chat sessions. Our speakers will be open and ready to answer our questions. Before now, I have a question that I would like to ask High Chief Vincent Barra. High Chief Vincent Barra, are you here with us? Hello, sir. Okay, while we wait for iChief, I would like to ask Mrs. Oyoma. Is it fine I call you Mrs. Oyoma? Or how would you want me to address you, please?
Yes, that's fine.
I
That's
think
fine.
iChief is online now.
Oh, I'll come back to iChief. But Mrs. Oyoma, in your organization, what strategies are, I'm particular about your organization right now, what strategies are employed to cultivate work environments where women feel genuinely respected and valued? I understand that you are very intentional. I like that you are so detailed up until contract drafting. That's so minute, right? For anyone to overlook. You are so, and that boils back to what Mrs. Akiodo said, that it's not just saying, okay, woman is in this seat just for gender inclusivity. What value are you bringing? And I could tell, and I can tell, and I'm sure everyone can tell that you're a woman of value, for you to be able to point out that minute details that mean so much for your organization where you have a stake. What strategies have you employed to cultivate work environments where women feel genuinely respected and valued?
Okay, so I mean, in our organization, we have policies that are gender friendly and are being implemented. So, we spoke about fostering an environment where women feel respected, and the policies, and also a situation where certain kind of practices are not used as yardstick for judging women.
Yes.
So in terms of even the working hours, my organization is not one that's, you just overly, people just stay there and just work for extensive hours, and that then becomes the yardstick. I mean, the overtime hours, obviously you work overtime when it's necessary, and then the company pays you for the overtime hours. And it's an environment where time management is key. You don't have to put in unnecessary hours. I've worked in other places and I know what it is. You don't have to put in unnecessary hours. So when it's the time to go home, you actually shut down for the day and you go home. So women are able to go and take care of their families. And then in terms of recruitment, I would not hold brief for, I'm not the head of HR. However, what's from my own personal observation is we've had more women take up leadership position in the organization. We're having more women coming. We're not there yet, but I mean, there's a lot of progress that have been made. And this is because we are deliberate about fostering an environment where women feel empowered and inclusive. We take deliberate efforts in celebrating our women. I mean, for the International Women's Day, we had like a whole celebration across the organization where we took some hours off work to just celebrate each other. And it was it was an event sponsored by the organization. So, those are things that are very encouraging. And when women come together like that, and every day you're not able to see certain people, and then when you see them, you get inspired. And as women, we also collaborate, we network with each other and encourage each other. So that's what's happening.
That sounds very interesting. I wouldn't mind coming to your organization.
You're welcome
Thank you
to
very
join
much.
us.
Hi, Chief, are you with us now?
Yes, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Right. I like the way you're smiling. You are so happy to be here, and we are happy to have you. Okay. Sir, in an industry where the talk of inclusion and equality isn't new, because it is not today we've been talking about this topic, when do you anticipate seeing tangible changes and experiencing real progress in the industry?
Thank you very much. I want to also thank the co-speakers, and the issue is that we are on the right track. A program like this is one of the steps that Inter-Bau is on it. for there to be change, all hands must be on deck. There must be a collective effort to enhance and to ensure that we are not just speaking and talking. You know, in Nigeria, we are very good in seminars, conferences, and at the end of the day, not much will be done. But I want to thank Inter-Bau for this, because most of us invited to be part of it, we are all in the practical aspect of construction and industry and construction work, especially my colleague in JB. You know, I'm from Salini Nigeria Limited. We have to take home our discourse. We have to try to put it as much as possible into practice. We have to go back to the drawing board to ensure that we have policies in our company, even at FOSI level, that will encourage the participation of women. It has to start from policy networking. The truth of the matter is that if there is no policy to guide certain actions in organizations, the implementation will not be all that easy. One thing I admire much from the presentations is that the issue of the reporting network. You find out that in most companies, there is no avenue for women and girls to report or to make their complaints, and for them to be listened to, and for it to be taken and handled appropriately. So this is very, very important, because when this is done in the industry, you will discover that some of those infractions, molestations, and the marginalization will begin to take a backseat. So we have to go back to the drawing board and ensure that much of what we are saying, that we're able to put them into practice. That's the only way we can see change, we can have progress, we can show that more women and girls are brought into the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Please, there is a link in the chat box. Please register so that you can get more information on the Inter-Bau Foundation and the program, and you can also make inquiries from the link. We have a question in the chat session, and she said, I was once a victim of toxic norm at a workplace, especially in a private firm, against women in construction industry. How can WICA assist me in this regard? I'll push this question to Dr. Akiode, since she's the convener of Women Infrastructure Community, WICA. So Dr. Akiode, this question is for you, ma.
Thank you very much for this question. So I think I omitted the part where I was supposed to talk about WICA because it is not WICA. So okay. It is pronounced WICA, Women in Infrastructure Community Africa. So the association, it's an advocacy and training platform, advocacy for gender inclusion in infrastructure delivery across Africa, women development, and training, to become professionals that we can showcase across Africa as women that are gender conscious and representing us, and also mentoring other women, it's like replicating ambassador. Then you begin to replicate yourself in your work, women development, empowerment. Understand the question that you've been a victim of toxic work environment. What we do at WICA is that when we receive complaints, when we become aware of situations where women have been displaced, they've been, things like this have happened to them, like been victims of toxic workplaces, been victims of inequality, of harassment and not well of things that have to do with their career in the infrastructure delivery sector. We have this non-confrontational approach that we take. So we engage the individual, we get to know what exactly is the matter, then we engage the organization as well. We've done for women in Lagos State. And so I don't know if you are still in the employ of that organization, maybe you can send your message to our email, WICA, that is WICA.CESD at gmail.com. We'll take your complaint and we can take it up from there. But what we, like I said, is a non-confrontational approach where we engage and we try to resolve issues. In the process, we enlighten the organization on what not to do and what to do, processes that are supposed to put in place, so that such things do not happen again, and that such victims too, they become better informed of their rights, and how to go about such occurrences if ever they come across. So they can also be the kind of person that also educates others too on how not to become victims. So that's what we usually do at WICA.
Okay,
and let me tell you also one thing that we did recently.
Okay, sorry, I would like to rephrase the question. She rephrased the question. She said, the question is, how can WICA assist or mentor me in establishing a business or company in the construction company?
Oh, if that is the question now. So just be a member of WICA. Still send your interest to be a member of WICA to the Gmail that I put across, wica.cesd at gmail.com. Becoming a WICA member, you show your intent, and we take you through the processes of becoming a WICA member. Thank you for your interest in being a WICA member.
Thank you, Tolulope, and we look forward to you coming forth. So we have Lawrence Tia Okoji. You have a question. Thank you very much, Ma, for answering the question. God bless you.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hi, Lawrence.
Yeah, hi. How do I call you now?
My name is Hannah.
Right? Okay, Hannah. Hannah, good afternoon. My name is Barrister Laurentia. I'm happy to be in this program today. Barrister Laurentia.
Okay.
Laurentia.
Okay.
I'm happy to be in this group today. I'm someone that, I like to attend all these kind of programs for women, and I was invited by my senior Barrister Omonigo, the speaker, and I would like to direct this question to her, please. Barrister Omo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so I got a case like 2 years ago from someone. She was working in a bank, and she told me that her boss was, trying to go after her to date her. And, she kept telling the boss that, she was not interested. Then suddenly she resigned. So somehow somebody connected her to me, and, I spoke to her. Then I asked her, why did you resign? She said that while she was in the office, the boss would come very early, and she herself, she comes very early. Then the boss will come and be harassing her, like, throwing some sexual advances at her. Now I told her, okay, let us make a complaint. Let's write, a formal letter to the bank, that's a formal complaint. And she told me no. Then I asked her why. She said, okay, she was scared, of being how do I call it? Or being harassed further. Meanwhile, she had already resigned. So I felt very bad in this kind of, in this kind of condition for the girl. So please, is there anything we can do? Is there anything we can do, to pass a law concerning this particular case for women? Is there anything we can do? Is there any program we can? I don't know. So I'm just trying to, imagine if there's something we can do in our organizations to stop this kind of molestation.
Well, thank you, Barrister Laurentia. So, I mean, I can't speak for that organization, but I know that, most organizations would have, their procedure and their reporting channels for such kind of unbecoming behavior
Yeah,
that is not acceptable. So
exactly.
I wouldn't know where she has worked, but
She was working in Access Bank. Access
I
Bank.
well, I can't speak to I can't
Mm.
speak to Access because I don't know anything. I don't know
Okay.
about their policies and all of that. But in that kind of situation, the
Mm.
ideal for any organization is to have its procedure and policy against that will take care of situations like that where a victim can lay a complaint and then there will be some sort of maybe panel set up to investigate. And if
Such
the
happened.
the person being accused is found wanting, then appropriate measures, punishments are meted to the person. And then if it's that the person needs to be let go in the organization, they do that. Or if there's some sort of other kind of intervention, even for the victim herself. So I wouldn't know what that organization has. But for organizations, it is very imperative that we have these channels and that they are easily accessible to
Exactly.
anybody, because harassment can even come from any gender. But I mean, we know it's more of female that experience it. But organizations need to put this in place, and victims need to also not be afraid to speak up. At least tell someone, I mean, there'll be, maybe you have other senior females in the organization that can, back you up, or even male. There are men that do not tolerate this kind of behavior as well. So victims need to be able to speak up as well and not be afraid. And in this instance, she's left the organization. So I don't
Mm.
know what she was considering to not push it. But at the end of the day, programs like this would also help, where victims like that can be part of the program and
Mm.
get encouragement and see that they have support. It's not just them. And I know there are NGOs that also take up this kind of matter. I mean, Dr. Jumoke just spoke about what WICA can do. So
Okay.
she might need counseling. She might just need people to encourage her so she
Okay.
can have the confidence to pursue the matter.
To speak up.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
what I would say on this.
Okay, that's fine. It was very difficult for me to convince her. So, okay, let's do something. Let us approach the court. I didn't even tell her, let us approach the bank. I was like, she said, no, 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 no. She didn't want to do anything. She was scared of the future. So I just left her and, she left the bank. So it was a very bad situation. So the thing just came to my mind to ask,
Thank you for
that
asking.
what do we
Yeah,
do?
I would also put the question to Dr. Akiode, being that she's also the faculty for Inter-Bau Foundation Leadership Hub for Women in Construction, and she will be taking the course Conflict Management and Sexual Harassment. How would such individual deal with with the situation if the person was a member of this foundation?
Thank you very much. Mrs. Oyoma Brown has spoken about what should be. Most corporate organizations have what we call gender policies, and stated in the gender policy, I mean, is explicit about the kind of engagement that is allowed in the workplace. So that would take care of that. The organization policy is part of it. There's a channel for reporting and taking up the process to do. So for instance, somebody that is undergoing sexual harassment, and there is a need for what we call documentation. Somebody said text messages, documents that when it's going on, it will not just be your word against the person. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can, ma.
Hello, because the noise. Can you still hear me?
Yes,
okay,
we can.
Thank you. That noise was coming in. Okay, so because sometimes you are dealing with serial harassers that know how to cover their tracks. And in some organizations or in some environments, you have men. We have what we call a men's group going to harassment to document that and produce the investigation. So that it's not just against the person and the supporters of the person, especially the person is a senior person in the organization. So reporting is important, speaking up is important, documenting your evidence is important, and following it through. You should not be afraid. If there are policies in the organization, you'll be protected. So that's also something that organizations should make everybody, especially the women. And, this process, the process is kind of, in some organizations, it is just straightforward. In some instances, it's not straightforward. People get to talk to them. Oh, do you want this person to lose their job? Why are you reporting and so on? So you must make up your mind from the beginning that you want to follow through on this, because we have cases where the process starts and somebody will come and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to follow through with this again. That stalls a lot of things. So you make up your mind that you want to follow through the laws. Like, it's a law in the country that you should not be harassed, and there's a law against discrimination, harassment. So there are laws provided. It's us just keying into them and reporting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma. Thank you. Engineer Dr. Lola Adetona mentioned the turnout of ladies for this training is small and not encouraging at all. I'd like to point out that, yes, we are in construction, but most of the courses that will be taught in the foundation that have been outlined is not just for women in construction, to be honest. This sexual harassment, if the person had taken this course, the person would have been guided on how to manage this situation and would not have to resign, right? Courses like emotional intelligence, like I mentioned earlier on, is key for any industry that you will be in. And digitization, work-life balance. As a woman, you need to know how to balance your personal life and your work life so that you can be at your best at your workplace. I am happy that this opportunity to encourage the ladies to fall in and encourage ourselves to be better at whatever we do, right? So I'll encourage us to preach the gospel of the Inter-Bau Foundation Leadership Hub. If you know you want to be a leader, you want to one day hold a management position, or you are currently holding a management position and you want to be your best, I would encourage that you take on this course. And the link is in the chat session. So please register so that you can get more information. I'll move, please, we are still taking in questions, and thank you, Laurentia, for asking that question. We all learned one or two from that question. So I'll encourage everyone to please put in their question. I would channel this to Mrs. Oyoma. What advice would you give to young females who desire to start out in the construction industry? Right, so I just graduated. I'm about to start my career in the construction industry. I'm already filled up with fear of how the industry is male dominated, and I might not be churning out values, or my values will not be seen because I am a woman and this is a male dominated industry. Or I have been advised, why not just focus on real estate, and join real estate is for soft life, just sell houses. But I studied civil engineering and I want to make an impact. What advice would you give?
Okay, so I mean, how long do we have? Okay, so I think in every situation, the people that people would normally gravitate towards are people who can add value, regardless of your gender. So while we are preaching gender inclusivity, as a woman who is coming into the space, you need to know, know your onions, so to speak. Know what you are on about, know what you carry, be confident in yourself, be whatever aspect of the industry, whatever aspect of it that you focus on, be good at it. And that will take, training, upskilling, learning from people, find sponsors, find mentors that can help you navigate, because the people that have gone ahead of you, I mean, they've made their own mistakes. They've seen how things are done and how things shouldn't be done. They've seen how to handle situations. I mean, conflicts are a given, but how do you handle it? And people who have gone ahead of you will be able to better advise. So mentorship is key. Networking is also very important. Make sure you're attending programs like this where you can, get to hear from seasoned professionals. Attend conferences if you can, seminars, go all out there to be in groups. Sometimes it could just even be a WhatsApp group, or it could just be that you're following someone who has experience in the industry on professional platforms like LinkedIn. So at the end of the day, there's nothing to be afraid of. No one, because a space is male dominated doesn't mean that a female cannot come in and thrive. It's just being prepared and knowing that you have to continue to learn. Every human being has to continue to learn. So be confident. Do not be confident in yourself. Know what you know. Own what you know, and at every point in time, give value. Once you're able to deliver, once you're able to, without compromising your own, your own values, once you're able to deliver, people gravitate towards you, and then what you say becomes like it becomes like a holy grail. And that's how I've been able to, personally, it's not like I haven't had challenges in navigating through this space, but what I find is, regardless of your gender, once you're able to deliver value and you're confident, you don't cower to intimidation and fear and all of that, people just tend to say, oh, this is a confident woman, and people listen to you. So I think that's how I can summarize it. Continue to learn, take advantage of learning opportunities that are out there, because the more you learn, the more you are confident, the more you are able to navigate. And then sometimes we keep quiet in certain kind of situations when we should be speaking up. Typical examples will be, you are in a meeting and you are the only female in that meeting, and then you just keep quiet and all the men are talking. You should say something. And that's what I like. The people that work with me, that's what I always tell them. On no account should you go to a meeting and not have something to say. Because when you speak up, you create an impression in the people's minds that you are confident and you know what you're doing. But when you keep quiet and all the decisions are taken in that meeting and no one hears from you, they even forget that you're even part of that meeting. So even if you are the only female there, you still, occupy your space. You have a seat at the table. Don't just sit there. Make sure you are seen and heard. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Occupy your space. Make sure you are seen and heard. If there's anything you're not going to take home today, you have to take that home, because that will transform your life. Please, in the chat box session, our social media handles are there. If you want to know more about us, follow us on all our social media platforms. Register with the link to join the Inter-Bau Foundation Leadership Hub, which will be starting this year. 11 courses for 11 Saturdays, and 1 course per weekend. It's properly structured so that it doesn't, cause any discomfort, because we want you to get value for your money and we want you to learn. We're getting to the end of the session. I'm seeing in the chat board that so many people are interested in joining WICA. That's amazing to know. Please send your please send an email to waika@cesd@gmail.com. The link is on the group chat, and we'll be happy to have you. As we round up, we'd like to take a vote of thanks from the director of the foundation, Miss Doris Mbadiwe. Please. We'll be taking vote of thanks from Miss Doris Mbadiwe.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying till the end. I for sure I've learned a lot from my female counterparts. Even though I've been in the sector for a long time, there's always something new to learn. I would just like to give special thanks to the High Chief Vincent Barra of FOSI. I would also like to thank Dr. Olajumoke Akiode, my sister in this industry and in WICA, and also my very good friend, Mrs. Onyoma Brown of Julius Berger. Thank you very much to all of you, and of course, my very able anchor, Hannah. So thank you for just being such willing and able speakers. We have really taken a lot from here. And to the participants who really have taken time from their very busy Saturday weekend to join us. We will be hosting other webinars such as this throughout the year. So please do follow us on our social media handles. And, you know, I think LinkedIn, Facebook, I don't know, I think we're on Instagram as well. But please do follow us. For those who are interested in joining the Inter-Bau Foundation Leadership Hub for Women in Construction and Built Environment, the link for registration is actually on there. We'll be posting a lot more details about the hub in the near future. So thank you everyone for attending, and I will see you shortly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doris. And before I go, I didn't introduce myself properly, and I would like to do so. We talked about having indigenous company. I work in an indigenous company. We sell premium formwork and scaffold to the construction industry. Quality at that. I would like to share samples if I'm given the opportunity, and I'm speaking to Ms. Oyoma and I Chief Vincent, if I'm given the platform to show samples and show that I put my mouth where my money is and the quality of what I sell. So please, I would appreciate the opportunity to give where I can show you the samples of my product. We sell quality formwork and scaffold, and it is owned by Nigerian local. Yeah. So I'll reach out to you. Thank you, Ms. Doris, for giving me the opportunity. And I feel so much value, and I feel seen as a woman in the construction industry. God bless you, God bless you, Ms. Oyoma. God bless you, Mrs. Akiode. And I'll say, everyone, do have a lovely day, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everyone.
Thank you.